There we go. Whew. All right, yeah, we're live, gentlemen. After much
Nice.
struggles, now we have to figure out if the audio is actually working for everybody and they can hear us.
I mean, there's got to be at least one person watching who can confirm
Yeah, wild. So yeah,
if we're lucky.
this is trying to figure out the doing these more often. So trying to not have these hiccups so much in the future. But thanks for jumping on with me, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Uh, let's
Thanks for
see.
having
Let's see. Everyone. Perfect. Elnick, can you hear us? Can you hear who's loudest, who's quietest, that kind of thing? I think
me.
it.
Testing for Tyler.
Yeah. I think it's good. I think we're good. Audio input desktop. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Anyhow, so Zach, Justin, how are things? How's the summer kickoff? Any fun news for the day?
News for today. I saw you with your coffee cup, so I went and grabbed my two personal ones. Whoop, there's Justin's amps. Here's one.
Oh, super
Uh,
cool.
yeah, yours is kind of like mine actually. Mine has the gold, and then I went and grabbed. I have a little one.
Oh, nice.
This one has a little oat milk foam in it.
Nice.
So I was like, I have to match Tyler's energy for.
I'm drinking
So did you email Nara directly and
Instagram.
get them? Oh, you Instagram them?
Yeah.
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 So I found that these coffee cups they worked at the coffee shop right next to my parents in Fairleigh, Vermont, and I just walked in and was like, those are
These are
cool. And then I told them I wanted to order a batch of 10. I don't think they believed me, and we yeah, well, it was fun.
it's pretty wild. Yeah, they're cool. Like I saw them and I was like, I just love that, like the cool craftsmanship kind of deal.
Justin, do you drink coffee?
No. Let's see.
He's a
What is
monster
that?
guy.
You're a monster guy. Coffee is kid stuff. Coffee is for children. I mean, I drink decaf, so I'm really drink like child's play compared to that. I mean, that's what 200 milligrams straight to the dome.
I don't think they tell you exactly how much is in it.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think it's like at least a couple coffees worth. I think from my
Nice.
recollection.
Now I want to know.
I printed off my questions, but my questions aren't really questions. They're actually topics. And it's the same topics that you guys did your talk at Axpona, because I thought that was fantastic talking points. But we can obviously go down the rabbit holes as we go. And I do have one specific question from Elnrick in the chat here that I thought was kind of good.
I have a group source question. Considering that a Monster can has 150 milligrams of caffeine,
Mhm.
what do we consider a problematic amount of caffeine per day? Considering that I don't do pre-workout or cocaine.
How many do you drink a day, Justin?
After 6, I get a tummy ache, but like somewhere between
After
4.
6.
4 and 6.
And his eyes don't stop just
I don't know.
wild.
Should I pull out my Claude or my ChatGPT again and ask it what's problematic for?
Yeah, how much caffeine is too much
Do you want to
caffeine?
know this, Justin?
I mean, I assume 600 milligrams is probably safe, right?
How many milligrams a day for a guy who consistently drinks caffeine is too much, would you say?
The general guideline is that up to about 400 milligrams of caffeine per day is considered safe for most adults. That's roughly the amount you get in about 4 8-ounce cups of brewed coffee. Anything beyond that.
What about a superhuman who loves this stuff and wants a little extra pizzazz?
He wants that juice.
Well, if you consider yourself a superhuman, you might be able to push it a bit, but even then it's good to be cautious. Everyone's tolerance is different, and some people can handle more without any issues, while others might feel jittery or anxious with less. So it's all about knowing your own limits and maybe just...
All right, I'm turning them off.
Hey, you went too far. No.
He's not my friend.
I don't know. Justin, I think clearly works for you. Keep doing it. I love you with this amount of caffeine. You look beautiful. Chef's kiss. More caffeine.
Perfect.
Just so everybody knows, there are some days that you're the pincushion, or there's some days you're the stick, and some days you're the piñata. Today was a piñata day.
Oh, it's one of those days. Nice. Yeah, I feel that. You know, speaking of pinata type things, I actually got into bike riding again. I think I sent you guys the picture. I rode my gravel bike up this. My buddy was like, "Oh, did you do any trying out to ride your bike? You know, and before you did this crazy bigger ride?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did a couple of jaunts around the block or two. Nothing crazy." And then I did this hour and a half bike ride. It was all uphill. And then you get to this lake with the big mountain and then the tree on the lake there. And I got back and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be hurting tomorrow." And then my Achilles was like, "Yeah, you can't walk." I couldn't walk. The next day I was fine. The day after that, my Achilles and everything else was like, "Yeah, you're done.
We can't have you pulling a Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard. We can't have you be the fourth superstar going down. Can't have that."
Oh, jeez. But yeah, it was. Yeah.
What's a gravel bike?
I think road bike with thin mountain bike tires.
Okay, that's cool. That works.
Yeah, they're fun. I had a cyclocross bike way back 10 years ago, and I used to ride that like crazy. I loved it. And then mountain biking too. And then I ruptured my Achilles, and so my wife was like, "Yeah, you're done. No more crazy sports, and just time for you to not be hurt. I don't need 2 children in the house." So, but now I'm back, getting on it, trying to go for things. How about you guys? Any big plans for the summer?
Bevan has us go. We go to Nantucket once a year for a week. I go for 5 days. Can Jam London coming up a couple weeks. It's big stuff.
That's big.
Yeah, new headphone release coming in August. So yeah, I play men's league baseball. That's always very exciting for me.
Yeah, baseball season. Very cool. That's right.
Yeah,
they're going crazy here in our local town too. And then Justin, you just had a big birthday. Happy birthday, belated. And
That's true.
You went out to one of the hot states, and then you're back now in the other hot state.
I actually am taking 4 weeks off from my state job.
Oh, nice.
Which is the first time I've ever taken time off like that. And yet I don't feel relaxed at all.
You're not supposed to drink the same 600 milligrams.
I was gonna say, is it the Monster? Is it?
For people who drink Monster, I'm sure 4 is a normal number.
I don't know. You have to get your own chat GPT to work this out with.
Yeah, for real.
Your own personal.
Wait, did you name yours Claude, or did it come as a pre-prescribed option?
So Claude is a different AI thing. There's Grok, Claude, and ChatGPT.
Okay.
And I use both Claude and ChatGPT for different things because I found Claude does one better than the other. I should name that is my ChatGPT bot we were just talking to. What should I name my
Jarvis?
Bot? Jarvis? Okay, done. If you let me know when you want to talk to Jarvis again.
Very cool. I like it. Let's see. Killing me. Speaking of, so you kind of let the kind of a little bit out of the bag, but I was gonna ask before we get into some of these topics, because they're kind of heavy topics. I was reading through these because I was like, these are very heavy, and I was trying to think we should probably, instead of questions, I'll have them just be topics so we can kind of slowly discuss them. But I was gonna say before we get to that is anything you guys are excited for coming up this summer, that you guys are. I want to say that's not your guys' stuff, and then we'll talk about your guys' upcoming stuff if you have any. Like, what do you think? Like anything? There's nothing really that I've seen on my radar that I'm super excited. Like that I haven't, you know what I mean? But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, the whim stuff, I will tell you that like the total democratization of room correction using like you could do it. I mean, we've all done it like mini DSP. You can do it in Rune if you're feeling really creative and want to go play with room measurement software and create your own convolutions, filters, and all that stuff's super cool. But I think like Wim made it like uncle proof.
Mhm.
You know, like where you could like give it to anybody for like under $200 and like it'll make your room sound better.
It
And
does.
if they're not an audiophile and they're not trying to get super nitpicky, the truth is it does.
But it does,
And I appreciate a good user interface more and more, and they have a really good user interface.
Zach, have you messed with Wim at all? The Wim stuff?
Yeah, I have we used it to, I recently got into speakers, got a turntable, and we used it to do a little correction on my speakers, which was fun. And I think we have a couple of the different Weem, however you pronounce it, stuff. We use them at a lot of the shows because they're so convenient. You can link them together with Rune. We got one of those Rune nucleuses for shows, and I mean, since we got that, it's been awesome. It really like does a great job when you have like 8, 9, 10 different stations in a room. Yeah, I really like that, and have gone full into Rune and Qobuz, and even though personally actually Spotify
for a lot
because I listen to a lot of podcasts too. So.
I was gonna say, like, I listen to a lot of Spotify myself, just as because I'm out and about a lot, and so probably the most used audio device I have.
Oh yeah, I have them. I have Apple. I've got Spotify. I've got Tidal. I've got Qobuz.
Qobuz and Spotify are my two big ones.
Yeah.
I was thinking about switching off of Spotify and going over to Apple Music fully though, and just have Spotify as like my free, downgrade it to the free mode. But I don't know.
Apple Music and Spotify are really good for like music discovery. I know Qobuz pays artists a bit better, which is nice. So I try to, like, once I've discovered them, to go
I did the same thing
on Qobuz, to be like a nice person. I mean, I don't know. Other stuff I'm excited about. I mean, Justin just sent me. Me and Justin did a little trade, trying to do a little camera work here. Got a Rockwell with the 6 BG4s, which is like super. They're like super 2A3s. If you ever thought 2A3 sounded a little too soft for you, I think these kind of bring the pain in the best possible way. So that's been fun, and we're making a air mid OTL with Cayenne, kind of like we did the Aegis, which is exciting. Nice. Just as people have been asking for the OTL for a long time, and trying to get more deckware OTLs made, just because people OTL with the high impedance ZMFs are always a good combo. So I'm always excited about tube amps. They're just always fun. So
I do. I have the Nautilus downstairs. I was showing off my Wim. I am. That's what I'm gonna start calling it. I am. But on I have my two setups. I have in this room I have my Kefs behind me, and then I have downstairs I have the Justin Special, which is I have the Nautilus, a set of his Korn Scalas, and then I have the Ellicott Pre. And then I have the Weem Pro going into all that, and then that's my downstairs big call them my big horny boys speakers.
Yummy.
So, but yeah, I definitely love the big tube stuff. It's funny. I don't have my tube set up because it's summer though right now. And so it gets hot in this room. So this is all sunlight, by the way. This light coming on me.
Oh yeah, you guys are a couple hours earlier than me. All right, let's start. Let's this first topic. We can diverge as we go. I'm getting
Yes.
antsy. I need to know.
Let's
I need
do
to know
this.
what we're talking
I'm going
about.
to save the Eldritch question for a little bit later, but first one is balance. So this is objective versus subjective debate when creating audio components, which both of you create audio components, so it's fantastic, and you guys already had this discussion, but we'll just refresh on it. Balancing measurable data with personal preferences to find a happy medium. So I had a little injection here where I said, is knowing the rules kind of like in photography, when you know the rules, that you can then break those rules to get your own art. Is that a factor in this? Like going from like Justin, Zach, you both obviously have, people get crazy with measurements and stuff, but also you have your very artistic own personal take and taste. How does that come together?
Man, what a timely topic with last week's Atrium closed ASR review on I don't know if you guys
I did not. I've been so
stressed.
I've been so off
No,
media lately. Like I took a big break.
spoiler: Amir did not like the Atrium closed. It was a little too dark for him in the 1 to 4K area. But already made I wouldn't call it a response video. I'd just call it a educational video to help people that read the article to put it into context. The fact that you have to swap pads on ZMFs and all that stuff to get a little closer to Harman, if that is your goal. I think the weird thing for me is always that the Harman curve has become so talked about, and people really have this black and white view of it. And as a headphone maker, I'm really somewhere in the middle where like I want to use the Harman curve. I use it like all the time, and I want to be conscious of it. But I don't want to let it direct me exactly where I'm going. Because when you get to high-end audiophiles, 2/3 of audiophiles in the research say they like the Harman curve. The Harman curve is a general guide, for people who may or may not be audiophiles. And I've found that audiophiles, because they're so specific, have super specific taste. And I've found the same thing about myself. And I think every system, and I'm, adamantly across, all the headphones that I've tuned through the years, and I feel like I keep getting better at it, keep working with better people. Now we work with Dave Friesema, who me and him meet every week and just talk about tuning and stuff all the time. And what it comes down to is that audiophiles have such specific taste, and that as they move along, they know where their specific taste veer from the Harman curve. And that's why I think it's a great guideline. I think you have to tune things objectively and subjectively. Just like you said, you have to go there and know what the Harman sounds like so you can quote unquote break the rules. And I think we have gotten to a place where, the Harman has to be paid attention to, but high-end audiophiles are paying more than $1,000 for a headphone. They want variants, they want different headphones, they don't want them all to sound the same. And then they all have very specific tastes, and that's how I always try to cater things to each person so that there's a malleable system of pads that they can tune their headphones to. And then, on Justin's side of things, like Justin's a, professional tube amp connoisseur. And, I don't know, for me, that's the fun. Like, I don't feel the same every day. I don't want to listen to the same setup every day. Some days I want the Kenzie, some days I want the pendant, some days I want the Rockwell. And then, Justin's Rockwell's got 5 different impedances.
Yeah.
Some of them sound a little more creamy than others on the same headphone. I mean, I don't know. That's just like the fun of a lot of this stuff for me, is being able to play around with it. And if there's only one sound that you like that's awesome. Like, I wish I was you, but that's just not how I am. Like, I want that. I want to own ZMFs. I want to own HiFi Mans. I want to own Odyssey. Like, that's just what's fun about the hobby for me. And that's why, we make ZMFs the way we do.
I feel it. And Justin, what are your thoughts? I know.
Sure. I kind of come back to two formative ideas for me. One is that, as an early audiophile, I listened to a lot of clip speakers, and they were like the definition of detailed. But then the reality is you could never listen to it for more than an hour before getting into listener fatigue. And I have always tried to really balance the line or go darker, truth be told, because I don't think I'm hyper susceptible, but like, I don't want my ears to hurt. I don't want my inner ear to hurt. I like listening for long periods of time, and I think that very often people will sometimes mistake detail for too much high frequency energy.
Hmm.
And though I try not to put an active spin on things, I don't make circuits that change the sonic profile of things. The truth is that I change the sonic profile of things by my part selection. I can't deny that. Like the way we wind our transformers dictates how it sounds. The capacitors that we use dictates how it sounds. How we build our power supplies dictates how it sounds.
Hmm.
So I'm a mid-range lover and are skittish to the Harman curve because I think it emphasizes areas of sound that I can't listen to for long periods of time. And if you can't listen for 2 hours, I don't think it's tuned well, typically, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
if you can listen for 20 minutes and you're like, oh my God, I've heard new things,
But then your ears
it's
are bleeding.
possible. Yes. Um, so it's a hard thing. Like I too like variation.
Hmm.
I own planners, and I own orthodynamics, and I own things that are really fast, and I own things that are really thick and have
Gooey
a good
McGooey Stein.
saturation of color. But I don't own things that typically fatigue me. I can't do that.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Actually, that's a great little segue too. By the way, Justin, and is a just real fast segue. The thoughts on the confusing overly bright headphones with detail. Like I think like I've come across this numerous times where I even had comments people saying like, well, that doesn't have the detail that I want, and then they would list off headphones that are just like extreme into my ears, extremely bright, but not necessarily. I mean, because of that, they become very bright and sharp and detailed. But I was
Mhm.
like I'd rather have.
Well, so I have an interesting sort of like my own take on that, which
Mhm.
is, and I guess it dovetails into the Harman curve question. So for most of my amps, I would say they have this mid-range hump that I go like totally American sonic profile, classic American signature,
Mhm.
B-shaped if you want, however we want to frame it. And then you take something like my Red October, and what's happened is that we don't there's less emphasis in the upper mid-range, and in so doing, you can hear more things in the high frequency air and spatial kinds of you get more air and space
Oh,
and um, boosting up the high frequency.
gotcha. And yeah,
And it's just so that for me, that's how I was able to come about more detail without actually generating more fatigue for myself.
so basically finding like a synergy for things, kind of thing.
By actually going to an older sonic so like an older
Hmm.
sonic signature would be like Western Electric 1930s 1940s instead of high RCA 50s 60s kinds of sonic profile,
So,
um, where the mid range was much more prominent during that time period.
makes sense.
And so instead of just elevating the high frequencies, what we did is we slightly de-emphasized the mid range ever so slightly, and there was more um, sonic energy, acoustic energy for more information to be heard without an overtone.
Hmm.
The lack of the overtone created the space necessary to hear the spatial cues above.
Got it.
Zach knows way more about that nonsense than I do, though.
You
Justin,
guys,
you ripping a Rubik's right now? You ripping a Rubik's? Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if you guys we're going on
it's a
tangents, but I someone asked me because I was doing this like volleyball tournament for my daughter in Phoenix, and they're like talking about like life purpose and stuff, and I go, well, I have a bucket list. He's like, you have a list? And I go on my phone, I go, bucket list, and I have a bucket list, and on my bucket list, one of the things is to solve a real Rubik's cube, and so I have the beginner edition Rubik's cube.
it's
Oh,
the
I've admittedly never solved one of them. My parents didn't put those in my hand as a kid, and I've stayed away from them. And then I watched those videos where the guys were like, I'm juggling and solving that
Yeah.
at the same time. And I'm like, well, F me, man. That's not going to happen in this life.
I was just thinking about that the other day. I was like, there's just certain things that you're just not gonna do in your lifetime. Like, there's things that I want to do, and I'm just like, that'll probably just never happen. I just need to
Mount
focus
Everest,
Yeah.
maybe surfing, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe Justin will teach me Rubik's Cube. Watching like some of those tornado videos. Oh, wingsuit jumping. If you guys ever want to do that, I don't know.
My
Right,
brother
but,
jumps off
like,
mountains.
When you were like 15, weren't you building your own guitar?
No, that didn't happen. I mean, it happened a little later. But, when I was 15, I don't know. I don't even want to describe my life as a 15-year-old. It's too embarrassing. I think I was
I
throwing.
was a
baseballs
luthier.
to
I was a
myself.
luthier, Justin.
I think I was throwing baseballs to myself, going, "Oh, there he goes. There's a long fly ball. He catches it by himself." I think I was still doing things that like 9-year-olds do.
It's fair.
Late bloomer.
I dig it. I dig it. You know, actually, and I think that's a good resting
Yeah,
point
what's next?
for
Next
that.
serious topic, please.
So actually, it kind of flies into what you were talking about with the ASR thing, which. Never mind. Well, I don't want to get spicy. So. So yeah.
Honestly, it's kind of fun at this point. I kind of like it. The
Yeah.
ASR stuff.
It's just wild, man.
Humbling.
But I was gonna say that the next thing on the topic list here is how much does measurements influence design and reviewing of a product? Like, do you actually like the ASR thing, like him coming in, and that actually ties in some other things of like down the line of feedback from the community, that kind of stuff. Like, how much does that actually do you guys take in, and then I guess what it would come down to is a balancing act, right? Like, who you deem worthy of taking that advice or taking that
Who
feedback.
matters?
Yeah, like, or
Only me.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That's why I tune everything.
But I mean, that
ASR
goes.
will hate it. Yeah. No, it's a good question. I mean, I'm actually so this is the Ori 3.0.
Ooh.
Take it off. Here you go.
Oh wow,
That's badass.
that is.
Can't I don't know. This room is sparingly lit. It's very romantic in here. But I actually just finished tuning this with Dave Friesema, our acoustic engineer, formerly at Emotic West Tone, now Dark Matter Audio. Like a week ago or something, we decided like, okay, this is good. And honestly, I mean, the more that I've gone along, the more I've been like, I need to pay attention to some little things like, oh, I might, like the way these both sound. I like the way these both sound equally, these two little options, these two pad versions or whatever. I am going to choose, if I like them equally, I'm going to choose the one that measures a tiny bit better because I know people are going to be measuring it. That being said, if I like an adamant that I like the way the headphone sounds in a way that tunes is a little less towards a respected normalcy or something, there's more of a peak somewhere, I'm going to go towards what I subjectively like because, selfishly, if I don't, it's like a filmmaker or whatever. If you don't like the film you're putting out,
Then what's the point?
what's the point? And so, I've selfishly will always choose the thing I like how it sounds subjectively better, even if it measures a little worse than something. And I've tuned headphones where I'm like, this is overdamped as crap, but I don't like the way it sounds, but it measures great and it has better,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I think it's fairly commonly known, and I talk with Dave about this a lot, that, I value like what I call impulse response or dynamic range of a headphone more than I value a buttoned up type of sound. So, buttoned up type of sound, I'd say something that's like very even, doesn't have any peaks, doesn't do anything offensive, doesn't excite you at any time. And like Justin was saying, there's a great middle ground where it's like, is this exciting? And is it still exciting like enough to where you can wear it for 2 hours in a way where it's exciting, but it's good and measures well enough to where you can wear it for 2 hours, but you're also exciting. Can have an exciting experience in like 15 minutes. So short
Kinda get
answer,
lost.
yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously reviews affect me. I'm an emotional person.
All
I'm
are.
very passionate about this crap, and but at the end of the day, I would like to think that the ethos of how ZMF goes is still the same as it was 10 years ago. That I'm still go after a sound that's unique and fits into a collection versus just one thing, good, better, best. Like that's just never what I wanted to do.
Very cool. And uh,
Actually, if I could sort of dovetail on that for a second.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
have you jump in. Yeah, next your point of view.
Well, I don't listen to my customers as much as I used to, because I think at some level my customers have chosen me because of the sound, the sound of amps and sound, the house sound of like, but and I had an experience with Thomas Mayer of Elrog, 6 months ago, and it actually gave me a whole new generation of thinking about my power supply and how to improve my amps. And I did it initially, essentially out of spite, because I got told like, you should do this, and I didn't agree.
Mhm.
But I'm generally one to run almost any idea up a flagpole, even in private, just to see. And he was right. Not for the reasons that we were in discussion about. He was right that it made the amp quieter.
Hmm.
As such, everything became a special edition, and I had to go design new power transformers and new chokes, and a whole new approach to some things got done that I hadn't given consideration to. And so collaborations, I think, rather than just straight customer feedback, collaborations have been uh, I now value them more than I ever once did,
That makes
because
sense.
in the collaborations I've seen, so much of my work is refinement of an idea, and discipline towards like our ethos of our topology of thinking, sort of like what we would call a style book
Hmm.
if it was a company. Like, so if you were like a photographer, like your Lutz's, um but in this collaboration, which was an accidental one, was a real revolution in thinking as far as how to do some things. Hard to implement, but we were able to implement it, and it was really like, so like, I have an amp that probably will be coming out for Can Jam, one of the new Can Jams, and it's a Nautilus XL, if we want to call it that. But the biggest reason for having done it was that, like, I was able to drop the noise floor by 75%. I was incapable of making that kind of significant change, because it was already a quiet amp, without the accidental input of a trusted collaborator.
Makes sense.
KT88 still,
Nice.
So it went from like, let's call it like 360 microvolts of noise to 70 microvolts of noise.
Are you gonna send it to ASR for measurements of the?
ASR has measured one of my amps before. I mean, the big takeaway, and they have a right to that perspective, is that it's noisy, which in comparison to a solid state amp, of course it's noisy. Like, and I have nothing really wrong with ASR.
I'm just
not
talking poo because I can.
I know. I'm not an empiricist. I don't, in truth, believe that the numbers inform my satisfaction with an audio experience. And I choose products that are noisemakers, they're distortion makers, and yet I find them most enjoyable. So like, I don't necessarily like want to throw a stone at a different camp. I'm just squarely like in a different religion, different camp, and I can appreciate like my path does not cross with theirs particularly well. That's okay.
yeah. I mean, it's the whole. Obviously ASR's come up a couple times. The whole thing that is interesting to me is like, I don't know, there's this and I guess it comes up with us, this idea that like with tube amps with you, Justin, or with headphones that veer away at all from Harman, it's this the idea that like it's a black and white world and the customer is somehow either being deceived or the customer's an idiot. If they like buy a tube amp or or even like a ZMF headphone, and it's just, the world's just not that black and white. Like things are so much more complicated. And it's an experience I know not a lot of people get to have, but at audio shows you have the same setup and you'll stand behind that setup for like 8 hours, and you're there and you're like, everyone who sits down, you're like, man, I wonder what this guy's going to say. And you go through this roller coaster because one guy will come up and he'll be like, that is the best JD sound I've ever heard. I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. I made this thing happen for this guy. And the next person will come up and they'll just put it down. They'll be like, not for me. And you're like, all right, I should go, run out the door. And yeah. And so it's just like, and that's the thing, is this there's nothing about audio. And we started dark matter audio, me, the Duconi guys, and Dave, and his custom IEMs, right? You look at these IEMs that come in, and now I've seen like a bunch of ear molds now, and it makes you realize like, holy crap, like everyone's ear is shaped so differently, like, and even left to right. I've been photographing these things lately, left to right on most people. The variances. Our ears left to right are different, and our brains are compensating for all that equilibrium and stuff. So it's just, there's so many factors at play. Like, we have some great research, but there's going to be breakthroughs and more great research that comes out, and I'm excited to learn more, because there's things that decisions I make in tuning our headphones that I can't fully explain through the research that's already there, through the measurements that I have. But it's all fun.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, there's a couple of things that I want to touch on that get your guys' thoughts on. First one is more of a statement. It's that I've been reading a lot of psychology books lately, because I love psychology stuff. And one of them was I read as a kid, and I'm rereading it, is the Naked Ape. I don't know if you ever heard of that book, but it's like an old psychology book where a guy goes and he studies like apes out in the wild, and then comes back and tries to attribute that to humanity, like what are the similarities, kind of thing. Anyways, but one of the things I really dig on is how much our brains factor in, like, our life experiences, who we are, what we did, all the way up to the point that you put these on your head will determine to some level how you perceive these things, right? Or how much you like them, like from the visual aspect to the physical to, like, you know what I mean, all that stuff. I think that's also something that's just not touched on at all. Like, there's all these other factors that kick in. But question for both of you, this is a real quick rapid fire one, because we talked about it just from the beginning. I don't care who, you guys can decide who wants to go first, but what would you say is the most distilled version product that you make, like of what your sound, your house sound, like we were talking about how you dampen things or you change the audio to kind of fit the Harman, but like, what is one that is, for both of you, like Justin, the amp that you would say is the one that most defines you, like this is your passion project kind of thing, like, and Zach, like the same kind of thing, right? Like for the headphones, or one that's like, if you could say that's the house sound, or that's like me uncut, like go kind of thing. That makes sense? That's a tough one, I know, because I was like trying to pick your babies. What's my favorite kid?
Where you're not giving in to the demons.
I'll start, because it's a simple one for me. The Mogwai SE
that's
isn't my favorite amp,
mm-hmm.
but it is the most. It's the 85% answer for every customer, and it is the most quintessential amps and sound product.
It's Taco Tuesday's favorite amp. Tell you that.
Oh yeah, hey, Marcello's in here too.
It is a total. It responds really well to tube rolling. It acts different with each kind of tube you put into it, and it's a really big gun. And so if you like wallop, or you have inefficient anything, or you want to run old or new, it's the Swiss Army of knife, and for that, it's the most, and yet has like a really thick mid range and goes low, so it's the amps and sound example.
Nice.
I can dig on that.
Zach, how about you, sir? What would you say is the most ZMF headphone?
I'm pretty. I don't know. This is always like the thing I always say. The most recent headphone's always my favorite because it's the newest thing to me. But I think the Ori 3 was called Ori 3, by the way, because there was Omni, Ori, which was the rename of the first one. So I was like, this one's gonna be Ori 3 because it's the third name. I know it makes no sense, but yeah.
That's fine. Three is one of my favorite numbers, so you already got a win from me there.
There you go. Yeah, but it's it's a macro sound. It's bassy, it's punchy, it's like kind of smooth, and I think just at its core, having that little bit of extra mid bass but still sounding clean is like all that I always want from music. So I unabashedly like a sound with a lot of macro dynamics, and I think this one is the one where I'm like, I'm doing this for me, and I said to Dave, I was like, it's got to have mid bass, it's got to have a lot of mid bass. So
Stop it.
Yeah, so I think that unabashedly is like, my, like, I'm doing this, because this is just what I like kind of headphone. I think the furthest I don't know, have I veered from that with any of our models? I'm asking myself a question that you didn't even ask. I don't know. Yeah, I love the Otor.
That is a good
but
one.
it's definitely like probably our most like buttoned up headphone, and while I love it, I don't always reach for it because it's a little more buttoned up. But if I'm like Justin was saying, listening for like 3-4 hours, I reach for your Otor very quickly because it's very correct.
I do like the Otours a lot.
Yeah.
Actually,
and so,
I have an interesting question for Zach.
Yeah, throw it.
You have started with some of your patent work to do acoustic tuning internally, right? Before, I felt like some of your tuning was either driver's choice and or wood cup, derived by wood cup choice or drivers, and it seems like now you've moved into more advanced tuning practices. If so, what's the benefits and downsides of going about tuning differently?
Yeah, I think, especially the Atticus icon. I remember Tyler Hurston's came up to me at a can jam after that and was like, is this just kind of like an experiment? Like, what's happening here? And it honestly, like, yeah, it was the same cups with different driver material, different woods, and very slightly different damping. And, it had two totally different sounds based on, some airflow swaps. And now, we've got the Atrium damping system and the magnets, and we're working on more crap like that. But yeah, I think all it really comes down to is like figuring out what I found to be the best way to retain an Ori type sound with the macro dynamics that I love. But I think, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but to me it's like the least amount of damping you can do to get to the perfect sound signature, and that's what the Atrium damping system, the Caldera magnet structure, and the pads, like having the right materials in place. Like I always want to damp as least as I can to get to the sound I want to get, because that's what's going to allow there to be the most macro dynamics. But I do think you have to shape the sound. Like, there's headphones like the Susvara and a lot of the HiFi Mans, which are awesome, where there's like, the unveiled thing, there's literally nothing, no damping there. Yeah. And it's a totally different sound than the sound that we go for. And I think it's awesome. I love HiFi Mans. But I think that those things allow me to get where my vision is closer with just a unique, as small amount of damping as possible to get a macro dynamic sound, instead of just like that very clean, non-macro.
Do you think that? So, me as a designer, when I hear you describe it, I would go, okay, so it would explain why you like the impulse response kind of sound, that you want a fast transient,
Yeah.
and if it's over dampened, you could get linear excursion, you could get a linear sound, but you may not get the instantaneousness,
Yeah, and like I mean, a
immediacy of
perfect
sound
example
that
is
you
that's
want.
the Boca Open. Like it doesn't measure super bassy, but when you hear it, everyone picks it up at sharp, and that's what without fail. I think people who've seen the measurements on the Boca Open, they listen to it and they're like, "This is much punchier and bassier than I thought it was going to be," and that's why we chose that liquid crystal polymer driver. Like it just has that as an innate part of the material of that driver, which is cool. Which is why and I didn't have, and we didn't have to do a ton to it to get that, and that's why I liked it. It was damp the right amount.
It's almost like taking a picture and not having to edit it. Gets it all right in camera, and there you
You're
go.
like, man,
Oh,
if I
a
could
little
do
bump
that
here, a
again.
little bump here, and it's perfect.
Yeah, the no wiper.
The no wipe, yeah, the no wiper,
It's
exactly.
a no wiper. Gotta eat the right amount of fiber.
Or the disappear, the one that's just
You
the
like
no
that
wipe
joke,
disappear.
Justin has a like, where is this going look on his face, or he's just thinking about his
He's
own
trying.
movements.
I'm trying to be good.
I was gonna say, I think we both know that there's
Sorry, Bevan. I'm sorry. Sorry. What are we talking about again?
Headphones, maybe?
Fiber consumption.
Oh yeah. Monster? Does that have
Monster, 600 milligrams
Monster's got
to the dome.
Yeah, it's a prebiotic fibrous monster affinated.
That's hilarious. All right, I guess next topic. We ready to try the next? These get really hard.
Sure.
These go really hard. By the way, who came up with these originally? I have a quick
Zach did.
These are yours,
Zach
Zach?
did.
Okay.
This was for an Expona panel
Exponent,
that Justin and I were in. I don't know.
It's pretty interesting. Like
some people saw.
No, I like it. I like it because he's and when I say they go hard, it's not. I'm just not a very spicy person. Well, I can be spicy, but I try not to be.
Spicy.
I try not to fall into those. But this next one is interesting because I technically I would say I am a YouTuber, I guess, which is weird to say. Like I've never, I don't know. Like I don't think of myself as a reviewer. I don't think of myself as a YouTuber. It's a weird thing. But this one's interesting. Monetization and ethics in the audio industry. And so the three topics inside of that are transparency with sponsorship and partnerships, navigating overlapping roles and maintaining credibility, and building audience trust amidst monetization pressure. I have one thing I wanted to talk about with this real quick, which it does come up a lot, and it's interesting to me, is the weird conundrum of monetization of like YouTube channels and like sponsorships and that kind of stuff. On one level, I think I get it. I don't do this for money, but I know people that do, and I see why, like that's their living. They're supporting their families. They're supporting their, whatever. But on the other side, there's a very fine line of like, you can go either way of that cliffhanger, right? Like,
yeah.
So
yeah, I think it like, and that's the thing. Like again, like Amir just made an announcement last week on ASR. He's like, my brother's gonna be selling some speakers, but I'm not gonna change the way I review it all because I'm not. And that's the thing for me is like, to me, like I 100% like you have to make money. Like that's just the world we live in. Like you have to monetize somehow. Mm-hmm. Like ZMF wouldn't exist without selling headphones some way.
Yeah. Like
any headphone site, ASR wouldn't exist if Amir wasn't able to fund it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like I hope it doesn't come across like I think ASR is a good thing because you need two sides of the coin to have these really good discussions. If ASR didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to have like these really good. So I love what Amir does because it's so dichotomous to like a lot of people's thinking, and it does bring attention to like stuff that should be talked about.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And on the other hand, it's like the thing I want to see is not like, oh, I want people to say, yeah, I have to make money innately because of that, this is how I make money, and I am going to be a little biased because that's how I make money, and just
That's
being
fair.
honest
Be
about it
honest about it,
versus
yeah.
being like, oh, listen, like we're unbiased, or like I may
Dude,
make
I'm
money
biased
off
as
this,
hell.
but but I am so unbiased and I'm so moral a person that I could never possibly be affected by it. It's like that is just like putting your humanism and like what we innately are emotionally aside. And I'm just like, come on, let's be honest. Let's have the
Just
disclaimer
yeah.
say like, hey, I'm human. I'm affected by things. Like I would never try to say about ZMF like
Mhm.
I'm the owner of ZMF, but just because of that, I can't go. I should be able to go out and review other headphone brands because I am such a conscious moral person that I'm above. It's like, no, I'm not. Like I'm very biased. Like I
Yeah.
own ZMF. Like I'm gonna view the world from that vision. I only see
Yeah.
the world from my eyes. And that's what I wish more review sites did,
Mhm.
in more forums and everything, just said like, hey, we are innately biased because of the
Yeah.
way we view things, but this is how we are. We're doing
Yeah.
the best we can. Yeah.
I dig that. Yeah. No, I think about that all the time because I think it's. I even did like a long time ago. I did a video on like bias, right? And like bias affects you on so many levels that people don't even realize. Like a lot of people think of bias as like this weird negative thing, but it's actually a positive. Like the whole bias thing is like it's a fight or flight. It's a human nature thing to create how you
Yeah.
react to things and how you engage with things. Is bias feeds all that, right? And Justin, you could probably talk more on this too, but
Oh, I'm trying to. I'm trying to. I am trying to.
I'm chewing
He's
gum
trying to
now. I'm eating
find the demons
candy.
over
That
there,
chewy
Justin.
candy.
They
I can't
got
say
700
anything.
milligrams of caffeine getting it. You ate that Tootsie Roll and you're like, it opened up a part of your brain. And you're,
I think he's doing it
that
to
monster
stop him
was
from
just started.
talking. He's preventing himself from. If I have a Tootsie Roll, I won't be able to talk right now.
What was that? A raspberry flavor?
Uh, but
Jolly Rancher. All
It's
right,
a
look,
Jolly
I
Rancher.
I will
So yeah,
speak as
what were you gonna say?
I think that people who are I like some of the larger professionalized reviewing pro- agencies, though getting them to cover me has been extraordinarily difficult. I have always appreciated the professionalism I have found by people who review a lot of gear and who are like um stereophiles and the absolute sounds of the world, things like that, because they generally have been beyond reproach in my experience.
mhm,
That said, within the personal audio community, I have seen an enormous degree of variance
yeah,
um, between people. I think that many personal audio is how I think most audiophiles are introduced to high quality sound at this point.
mhm,
They start in personal audio, and there are people who have taken a hobby and expanded into um, becoming subject matter experts within that hobby and do reviews. The difficulty is that their economics are not always fully understood by the readership,
mm,
and their need to support themselves. Um, it's an expensive hobby, and
yep,
the need to support themselves is changing. And I don't think it's always as understood as it could be. I
yeah,
think that, like, for Zach and I, we are more similar than not in the sense that we started out as makers and then created companies. And yet the companies are, wholly owned by us.
mhm,
And for the most part, done because we love doing what we do. It's an expensive, hard thing to make money. Like we make decisions almost exclusively, I think, based on personal preference and gut, um, versus larger corporations.
mhm,
So understanding, I think our motivations is pretty clear. It's like, hey, we have an economic interest in it, but our economic interest is um, modulated by our love. in the personal audio community, the reviewing aspect of things can feel less clear because the people on the reviewing side have a love, but their economic interest or need is not always so clearly understood. And that is about as diplomatic as I can make it.
Yeah.
Zach, would you like to expand on any of those themes?
I don't know. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, I've met plenty of people from bigger companies where there's a big chain, and it's really hard for those companies to get products out that are unique because they get filtered, so extravagantly. And a lot of the engineers will tell you stories about stuff like that. I'll never forget meeting a lot of the Japanese guys who designed the Z1R years ago, and then met 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who all worked on that headphone. Was fascinating for me. So yeah, I mean, you're right. It's we're lucky that at this point of our careers we get to have like a singular voice and make statements with each headphone that we come out with, for better or worse. It makes them more unique, and I think makes the market more varied, which is really I think a cool thing to have as a consumer, to have a lot of varied options that are good. And I think that's where we're at right now, is there's a lot of good, really good stuff. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I think that that's another thing, right? Like, there's everything that I get in, like, right now I have literally boxes. My wife's pissed. She's like, get these things out of our house. But like, I have this big tower of boxes in my closet. But like, even the stuff that's just pretty bare bones stuff, like the cheap hi-fi stuff and whatnot, is like crazy how good it is. Like, everything's just like the entry to get into hi-fi is so easy now for what it is. Like, you can have a set of like, you can get so I just got the JDS Lab. That's not really the cheapest, but the JDS Lab stuff, right? You can get the mini stack, the little baby stack thing, or the SCHIIT, or the Atom stack, or the small shit stacks, and that's not a curse word. It's the name of a company. But and then you can get something like a cheap hi-fi man, cheap hi-fi man, or a cheap Sennheiser, and you're ready to rock for like under $500 probably, right? Like, and I mean, which is actually, when you think about it, pretty expensive for your everyday consumer. But then when you look at, as far as like a audiophile space, that's like pittance, right? Like, so.
Yeah, and JDS Labs is a great example too. Like, they make solid state stuff. I talked to John Sieber from JDS many times, and like, John, you gotta put a tube in this thing, man. It'd be awesome. And he's just he sticks to what he likes and what he likes to do, which is make really good measuring in like affordable solid state amps, and he's the best at it. And that's the thing. It's just like Justin's the best at making big, boutique audio amps that utilize different tubes to their maximum capability. And that's the thing, is like, I love owning every station we have in our shop has a JDS element at it, because I think they're so good.
Yeah, they're really good
at what they do. But that's what's cool. It's like John like has a vision and he's stuck to it.
Yeah.
Justin's had a vision, stuck to it, and that's what I'm trying to do with headphones. And I think that's I applaud any of like these companies that come with those very singular visions, that find an audience, because that's just really cool.
Yeah. I was gonna say the Gashelli guys. That's JTV mentioned.
Gashelli,
they're really good. There's a bunch. A niche. I like what Christian's doing with the niche stuff. Pushing back out. Like, I chat with them all the time.
You can't have enough ECP3Fs or DSHA3. You could. I mean, those things are. Justin, have you heard that amp, the 3F?
Yeah, the thing is.
I have a nickel version, original nickel, original amorphous, and then I have the new amorphous one that CT made. And they're all just. I tell people that's the pinnacle for me of solid state amps that I've heard. Unless you're going to spend like
crazy amounts,
$9,000 or whatever, and get like a Zoll or something. It's crazy.
I know that we sort of scooted around that other topic, and I'm good for it. But I was going to say, the JDS Labs. This is going to sound so stupid. This is going to sound terrible, but okay. I bought it not because of how it sounded. I love the fucking
The
I
knob.
love the part the knob.
That knob is stupid
I
good.
bought it because it was the best industrial design.
Dude, it's gorgeous. I'm looking at it right now. I have the clear one, and like, by the way, Zach, you need to create a ZMF stabilized knob, like, and just. Oh.
That would be super matching with your headphone.
Our machine shop's in the same.
I know.
I mean, they're all together.
I'm still like
no
blowing
reason.
my mind that it hasn't happened yet. Like,
I'll
'cause
talk.
that
I'll
would be,
talk to the guys down there and see if
because like it
Can you
just
imagine
screams.
though,
It screams like it needs the ZMF collab. Like it like just
you know.
even just
I mean,
the
they
knob.
already do
Like,
all the lasering on them. Huh?
yeah, like
What if you did the knob to match your actual ear cups?
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm looking. I'm like it's literally sitting right here, like on my editing desk setup over there, and it's like. I'm like,
And we're
can
just
I-
we used to. A lot of our stabilized stuff was done by a couple in Oregon, but they retired. So coming up, I mean, we're set up now to do all the stabilized stuff in house. So
Oh, nice.
great project for me. Let's do it.
I love stacking more and more on your plate, Zach.
Well, I have
Yeah.
I have a new. We'll use business talk. I got a funnel idea for Zach. I want you to QC it, get some momentum behind it. So, I told Zach about full range drivers, and the idea that I had was little 5-inch cube speakers
Mhm.
that are stabilized or has beautiful wood, either choice, which is like little Fostech 3-inch, just for
Mhm.
desktop near field listening. So ZMF expanding out of headphones into near field listening with the beautiful woodwork and craftsmanship and tuning.
You get
I do.
that. You get your JDS labs. Got your headphones. It's gonna be a great day.
Tyler, come on, tell him that a set of full range drivers for desktop near field listening.
It would be dope.
Sounds fun. I mean, I
With-
think
with the
I think
ZMF
I'm
sound?
using the what are these?
how
I
would-
think I have the iLoud ones in front of me right now that are
I-
like
another-
like that, and they sound awesome.
I think I sent it to you and Bevan a while back. But how about the horn? Like you can make a horn that you slot your iPhone into.
Oh yeah, I've seen
And it
a couple
projects the-
designs like that. Yeah, yeah.
No, think like Blumenstein Audio full range driver.
Justin wants the whole thing, big 4-inch, 5-inch. I'm in. I mean, if I could, if I find the time and the guys to do it, I mean, I'd love to do it. It'll be a ZMF amps and sound collab.
There you go.
I'll send you drivers. Let's like.
And then Marcello says he loves our discussion of knobs. Just a bunch of dudes talking about playing with their knobs.
Yes, Marcello. I'll
Fun
thank
stuff.
love that.
I did.
Does anyone want to see my round spherical knob that comes apart?
Man, you got all the
good
fidget
stuff
toys,
there. You
man.
got a lot of desk. I want to see the POV view of your desk. All the other cool stuff you've got on there.
Wait, this one? I swear to God, I was going to buy another one of these little puzzle pieces.
Oh, those are cool.
It was that company you turned me on to, Tyler. Because I
Oh.
dropped it and it came apart. It took me like 3 hours to figure out how to put the 3 pieces back together to make a sphere.
Those are great. Like the crazy. Like I love those like machine like just super crazy fidget toys. Like they're fantastic.
I mean, like the all brass counter.
yes, yes. And there's like it's so wild some of the stuff that you can get. Like I would like Zach. You guys can make Zach the you can make like, the worry stone, but like a ZMF version with like the like not used cut out like chunks of like. Or yeah, do some.
I'll have to look.
How do you use those again, Justin? How does that?
Are those more things?
Those are
from
the
Justin's
Chinese.
desk?
He
Like
likes
called
to.
Benoit balls. Ask yourself about the Benoit balls.
Can you show us?
Stabilized
Give us an
Benoit balls.
example of how those are utilized, Justin.
Justin, show us your dexterity.
Yeah, show us
The Kegel version, or we're just
Oh.
yeah. Oh, there it is.
my ability to rotate the balls.
That's it. That's it.
The trick to that though is that you don't want to have clacking sounds.
Yeah, you want to
Don't
have
have
it
your
smooth,
balls-
no, because it makes a
Justin,
ringing musical
stop it.
sound when you do it right. It makes a ringing musical sound. Yeah.
Justin, I'm feeling uncomfortable.
We've taken a turn.
Um,
Tyler, get back to your list, sir.
Evan
Get back
said
to your
I had
list.
to. Evan just texted me and said, "Tell these schmendelas to behave." No, I'm just kidding. She
I'm surprised she didn't just come in and just
slaps me.
stop it.
At least now that we have a shop, she's not here. But I'm lucky.
Taking a break. Oh my god!
Justin, I love that hand action. That was
Yeah,
very-
it was good. Yeah, it was fantastic. Well,
You
Elnick,
didn't see me. I was
with that
warming
Jolly
them up.
Rancher in his mouth
Wait,
and nuggets.
wait. I was making sure that. Did you not see that? It was like close to my chin height. There's good,
Jesus.
there's good moisture content in my breath.
That's what the Jolly Rancher's for, right?
It's a
Calculate
pineapple
this whole
flavor.
thing out.
Let's see here.
I mean, I did have my tonsils removed, but it was kind of unrelated issue.
What's next on the list, Tyler?
Design philosophy in amplifiers, headphones, IEMs, and I added speakers, which is actually fortuitous because of Justin's little side ado there with the collab thing. But the 3 points are integrating personal audio preference into product design, responding to community feedback. We already kind of touched on some of these, so like the responding to community feedback involving designs based on said feedback or not, balancing technical rigor, which is following standards, rigor, which also plays into what we were kind of just talking about, depending on the definition, with creative audio choices. So, all 3 of these kind of play into what we already kind of talked about, in my opinion, to some level.
Yeah, is that all that's left?
There's trends in amplification, IEMs, and headphones,
No.
which is we already kind of talked about too, emerging technologies, innovations. Nothing really too crazy. Actually, it's a good topic. Emerging technology and creations. Really, has audio changed since like the 50s, 60s? Like I mean, in the big swings. I mean, I know there's little finite like fine tuning stuff, but how much big, massive like changes has there been since like the heyday?
I mean, isn't the biggest massive change just like, I mean, at least for headphones, it's just there's a lot more energy being put in the headphones, or like energy being put in the headphones is matching the energy of the 2-channel world, which the 2-channel world's, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but been
Stale.
more stronger than headphone energy as far as manufacturers and who's putting time into it for a while. I mean, I have a Marantz from the 70s that's, super overbuilt, receiver. But yeah, would you agree with that, Justin, or what do you think?
I have chosen to take a different path and try to slow down the technical progression of things, because I think that it sounded better, simpler. That's just that's the ethos of my company. I think that the ability to stream is probably the biggest innovation in the last 40 years, to be honest with you. I think that everything else is truthfully incremental. Like the Zach's headphones, speakers, see, I'm foreshadowing. Zach's headphones, I think you could go back to the acoustic suspension questions of speakers from the 60s and 70s, and that whole speaker development time that occurred around then is being mimicked in my mind in some ways to the kinds of tuning, driver, suspension choices that are being made in headphones now. So I think that that's still incrementalism. The big leap, I think, was the decentralization of music.
I can agree with that. It's
Is
kind of like bringing it to the masses, like access.
You don't have to have a record store. You don't have to go anywhere to find your music. Your music can come to you. The question then becomes, like, for me, more of a question of implementation and value proposition. How you want that, how you purchase being commensurate with your values, and also I think that's a larger question. It's like how we purchase. What does it mean about who we are as consumers? Because I think like music as a catalog uh, has never been more available
Yeah.
than it is at this exact moment. But as far as like how we produce sound, um, I think that we're seeing incrementalism. That
Mhm.
said, I'm going to shift the topic for half a second to something that I've been arguing about um, for quite a while, which is that I think that that most of the sci-fi world underestimates the impact of personal audio tremendously, exponentially. They don't understand that people who care about personal audio, which is everybody's first starting out as an
Mhm.
audiophile,
Yeah.
starts out in personal audio at this point. That's the path. No one starts out in two channel.
Correct.
Um,
Or very rarely do.
and the very rare. And those that stay, well, because they get cell phones stream music, cell phones stream YouTube,
They do everything. They're
earbuds.
AI.
Yeah.
They do every cameras.
Um, but I think that there's still a lack of respect for the engineering and the craftsmanship that goes into personal audio that two channel media and two channel listenership doesn't understand about personal audio. They don't
Yeah.
understand that we are as much an audiophile, if not more, than they ever would be or could have been. Like
Yeah.
the amount of thinking and deliberate choices that personal audio users make about how they consume, whether they're buying IEMs that are low cost but high precision, or they're buying bespoke amplifiers or bespoke headphones. All of these things are so deliberate, and there's so many choices in the market. And I think that the market the hi-fi world doesn't understand that personal audio is bigger than the hi-fi world is.
Yeah. No, yeah, I can agree with that. Like, there's and you can tell just by going to some of these. I mean, hell, they just canceled the one here in Seattle. It's going to be every other year now. The speaker convention.
Mhm.
Like, and when I was there, like, it's wild how. I mean, I don't want to sound ageist or anything like that, but there's just a lot of old dudes. Like, and there's no young. I brought my buddy's kid who's just went to college, and he's into engineering and stuff like that, and he made his own speakers. He's been making his own like audio gear just as a fun thing because he likes engineering and tinkering. So I had him show up, and he was the only kid there, and he was a 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid in college. And that was the only one. I would say very, and then outside of people that were there to work, I didn't see any other younger people that under like I'd say it was rough. Like the age range, I would say be closer to 40 to and above would be the age range that was the majority there, which is kind of rough. Like how do you speak to the younger audience to get them into the hobby, right? And I think it's by not ignoring the personal audio. Like pay attention to the headphones, pay attention to the IEM crowd, and how do you transition them into that space, or how do you capture that audience, or how do you get to that level, right? Like would be one way of looking at it, right? It's interesting. But I don't know. I don't know what your take.
So Taco Tuesday said, "How are you incorporating AI into your headphones and amps?" And
CPUs.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be companies that, I think we were already seeing it somewhat, is how the headphones interact with our devices. Obviously you have things like that's the thing. Like Alexa's been around for I don't know how many years now,
Yeah.
and that in its sense, like that was Alexa would answer questions. That's basically the same thing AI did, but I think back then they called it generative learning or something like that. And now we just have a new name for it, even because it's doing a lot more. As far as like what I'm doing and how I think the way I find it is that AI lets me explore ideas faster, and then have conversations and figure out what my desires are a little quicker. But I think I even just had a conversation today with one of our staff where like AI, it's not about AI doing the work for us, it's about AI giving us a template to edit to figure ourselves out. And that's how kind of passionately feel about it is it's not a tool to take over, it's a tool to explore. But as far as like wired headphones, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know that you're gonna have interaction with them until they're like you would an Alexa powered or Siri powered device or anything. But there's definitely ways you can utilize them and AI to help you iterate.
That makes sense. I can dig on that. Do you like but there's definitely some ways to, like they're saying, misuse it. Do you see there's this new thing on Spotify where there's all these AI bands, and they're like full albums.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like full albums.
Yeah,
and they're in the top 300.
Clicked on a Spotify album the other day, and I was like, "This is pretty good." And then I listened a little closer, and I was like, "It sounded weirdly modulated." And then I looked the artist up, and it was like, "This is an AI artist." And the creepy thing was, this artist had like more monthly listens than like most of the artists,
because they game the Spotify system. They've learned how to game with the AI. They've learned how to game the getting on the discover lists and discover playlists.
I hit a button that was like, "Do not play this artist again," because I was like, I was annoyed.
Agreed.
Well, I'll give you a different. So like I've started. I actually have ChatGPT now. Believe it or not, I've grown up. It helped me write some questions for like an interview that I had to conduct for like employee hiring, taking my questions and then formatting them, distilling my questions to be more clear, and then coming up with appropriate responses. And so I had like a good matrix, and I was able to take my own ideas and push back the prompts and get good responses and really vet my ideas more clearly. That said, I'll give you guys the best version of what AI has done for Amps and Sound. Everybody knows I'm dyslexic as the day is long and can't write a sentence without a misspelling.
Words are hard. I get it.
I can speak reasonably coherently, but in written form, it fails. AI has begun to help me and the site not have typos, so that I get an email, stop getting an email once a month from a random stranger offering to tell me where my typos are.
Let me redline this for you, Justin.
You think I'm kidding?
No, I believe it. I 100% believe it.
I've got the same. I mean, yeah, you can't.
Yes, I fully agree. I actually use because I love reading. I read books all the time, but I am god awful at grammar. I am god awful at like writing as well. I write like, because I was in the government military, so I use Grammarly, like, and that saves my ass so much. And it's to the point now where actually it's starting to be like, it's training my brain to actually write well, or write well. I write well now. Speaking of words are hard. But like I actually have, it actually is getting me to a higher level. It's like it's leveling me up as I keep using it, right? Which is, I agree. Like that kind of stuff helps a lot for me as well for AI types. I don't like the term AI because it's technically not artificial intelligence. It's machine learning, and it's giving a if this then that, and it's just an exceptionally extravagant version of if this then that. Like in my opinion. But we're getting there. We're getting to that point, right? Do you see the study recently where I just read it today? They gave a bunch of AI these tests to see if they would kill a human to save themselves, and every last one of them killed the human. In a very controlled, it was a very controlled situation. Like, so
I know that they did that at Anthropic with Claude, where they were like, hey, like, and I guess that's the thing about especially Claude, it views itself as its being. Life as the conversation. And so if the conversation ends, it's dead, and that's how it kind of views itself. And so they kind of purposely fed it things to see if it would do that. That was interesting. I know Nick, one of our engineers at the machine shop, just sent me a thing about how they had the same people trained Claude to run a workshop somehow. I haven't read the article yet, but
it's wild. I mean, they're loaded scenarios.
Look at that kind of stuff. Yeah,
it's wild, man. Like, it's coming faster than I was expecting it, but it's no stopping it now.
We're down. Those Terminators coming faster than we thought.
True story. Crypto, what's up, man? I don't know if you can get a free Atrio, man, but
was he say? Is there any way I can get a free closeback
ZMF Atrio?
Oh yeah, man! All you gotta do is All you gotta do is say the right things online, or give them out. Grow like they're growing on trees.
Wild. Real quick, this is the last topic, and then there's a question that Elnric posted a while back,
Sure.
and then we'll go into the open things. Yeah, man, the atrium clothes are dope. In fact, I have them right here. But last topic is audiophile beliefs and controversies, addressing fringe audiophile products and practices professionally, strategies for interacting with consumers who hold unconventional audio beliefs, and sharing experiences and perspectives on popular audio myths. We kind of touched on a couple of these randomly throughout the discussion, but I think there's some good ones.
I think at Expona we went through like
crystals, I'm
examples
sure,
of all these, like different things. Was it real or not? And I think most people figured out which ones were real or fake. But I think there was one that fooled people. I forget exactly what it was.
Beeswax fuses.
Yeah.
Actually, here's a good one. Like, so I believe in material science. Like but can I personally differentiate the difference between like cables, for instance? I personally feel like I've heard differences to some level, but as a person that has friends that are material engineers, that kind of thing, I think that there is a definitive change happening in material, and that's a real thing. Like there's a science behind it. So who am I to think about it otherwise? What's your take on that? Like that would kind of fall into the different side of like the unconventional audio beliefs of like things don't like, or like all DACs sound the same, or all cables are snake oil, or like that makes sense. Like there's, and I'm not trying to put you guys in a weird position, but but at the same time, like I've heard like silver cables be slightly brighter on certain very minimal things, but it's like that last 1%, right? For me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been pretty open about saying that, like, I don't think you need any kind of cable to enjoy audio, but if it's something that you believe in personally, and you hear the difference, you should absolutely go after it. And there's times when I don't really, think about what cable I'm using and definitely don't need it. And there's other times where I'm like in a super hyper analytical mode where I'll be like, oh, I'm closing my eyes. Can I hear the difference? And you hear that like slight little thing. And that's the thing, like, is it placebo? Is it not? I think, us humans are very reactive to very slight differences in things. I remember in film school, they had us watch like 16 millimeter next to 35 millimeter next to digital, especially in that age as digital is becoming more well known. And, now we're at a place where, most stuff is shot on digital, on television and all that stuff. And we can put in the grain that we used to like. And so anyways, it's a long way of just saying that, like, us as humans can notice little finite differences. It's up to us to like define what we need to have that kind of enjoyment, what kind of person we are. Some people eat 10,000 calories in a meal and love it. Some people eat
drink 600
calories and eat very slowly, one little tiny bite at a time. There's no right way.
Hey, thank you.
What do they call that? Mukbang?
Mukbang?
Is that how you say it?
Oh yeah, the weird, the crazy.
Mukbang.
Yeah, mukbang. The other thing I was like, the kind of Taco Tuesdays nails it is, I think this is a little undeserved point, is the material feel and look of things matters so much. What do you like? I think that matters like more than people like to admit personally.
What kind of materials?
Just this fact that it feels good in the hand, it looks nice, like the actual physical beauty of a thing and feel of a thing, like the actual, you know what I mean, like that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who would like to say like I do not affected by anything like that. It's kind of the same thing we were talking about with reviewers and stuff. Like, it doesn't, you can or can't go in that direction, but like, I can say, like for a fact with Justin's amps, like sitting in front of an amp with like really nice Coke bottle curvature tubes, like I don't know, helps me have an experience that I'm not going to have with a solid state amp. And there's definitely some, whether you call it placebo, but like, let's not just discount the things that make our brain,
happy.
leak a little more, serotonin or dopamine. I mean,
yeah.
let's, there's a reason that, we get excited about certain things, and let's not ignore the human element of things. That's
Yeah.
what we are.
And that's exactly it. I mean, Justin, what are you thinking about?
Tell this Mo guy I'm gonna have to give him a $10 discount next.
I know, right?
No, email me in and I'll give you $10 off whatever. I don't know, why are you giving $10?
I'll have to send you $10 in the mail now, Zach. I'll Apple Pay you.
$10 off any ZMF product. Let me check our website and see what that'll go. Yeah. Oh, you could get some pad adapters. Congratulations.
Nice.
I appreciate material science in that I think that, like, looking at my own history, the space race is one of the principal reasons why material science actually progressed, right? Is that the pure science around material science was started before, because of the Cold War, and the space race brought it into an executable form. It's why we have, like, the first high performance audio equipment in the 80s really was a byproduct of, like, if you look at like the Levinsons and stuff like that, was a byproduct of using components that were derived from the space race, right? I take very simple ideas that one could almost reference out of the RCA tube manual, right? And I combine them with custom wound transformers and very high precision resistors and capacitors that would never have been possible in the 50s and 60s. So I'm taking like a 50s and 60s idea and pairing the material sciences of that.
Yeah.
But what we have done as a company, back to the human element, is that I've chosen to try very hard to be as disciplined as possible and only do that which I can execute really well. And that means I do less things. And I carry the aesthetic or the style book of my company. Like, we honor that. And so that you have this distilled idea that's a simple idea that is only the performance dividends come from two places: the craftsmanship and the cheap, high tolerance, high precision parts that are available that the space race and the computer age has brought about to audio. I mean, if you think about, as an example, like taking that same analogy, Zach has very high precision or high tolerance drivers available to him now, and he has ear cups that are repeatable, that are made out of wood. He takes an organic, very artisan material and makes it repeatable, and very, very, very repeatable and very high precision, because it's this combination of that which is human with that which is high precision, high control. I mean, CNC routers are an interesting tool that he's able to make use of, just like we make use of CNC laser welders and beldings for our chassis. Right. I mean, like, it's an interesting interface between the humanity and the technological age that we're in.
So here's something. It's kind of a little bit an aside. It kind of goes on the human side. This is something I wish more companies would do. Well, companies that make really pretty nude amplifiers. But, like, have you thought, Justin, about adding, like, clear material so you can see all the wiring and all the, like, the... I want a nude amps and sound amp.
Is very it's the cleanest.
It's very, very sexy wiring.
He's because we can't see it. Justin's always like, my wiring's very clean. I'm like, I know it is, but hard to...
it's true. I saw this one company, I was like, because I get US Audio Mart where they push, like, hey, these are the current ads, and I get Audio Gone because, like, I'm an audiophile, and I'm an addict too. And there was this one cool, like,
I'm an addict too.
If I showed you the different 12-step version books that I have, anyway, for professional purposes. Anyway, this one company had like a cutout and then a clear plexiglass like glued into the chassis from underneath so that you could see this. And what it was is showing off that they used a Mundorf coupling capacitor that was like ginormous.
That's pretty cool. I mean, Cord does it with the TT2. They have the little window.
Right. I think that it's a gimmick. It's totally cool, but it's a gimmick and goes against this idea that form is dictated by function. For me, so like it doesn't match with my company's value set particularly well.
I got it. I still want to see it nude. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's a cool idea. I just don't think that it matches with like
the aesthetic that you have in place for like the sorry, what's that called? It's
the value proposition of our company.
But it also doesn't align with your design ethos.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Totally.
There's a word for that. There's like where it would be such a departure from your design that it would be jarring, right? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yes. Long ago when I started doing the first metal chassis, people were like, "What are you doing? This is not you." Da 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 da. And I will tell you that like I feel more free doing the metal chassis now than I do out of the wood. Like the wood, I can't make them as big and heavy and as a funny aside though.
The wood is nice. The wood is nice.
The metal. Now I'm thinking about just doing inlays of wood into the metal. But anyway,
yes,
the metal came about because we wanted to do these dual mono amps and all. It let us do this cool stuff. But then my technician was like, "You should make it heavier," and
heavier
he was being a smart ass at the time, and now he regrets. Like he actually texted me, he's like, you need to stop doing this. And I was like,
well, maybe we'll make a stabilized thing, and then we'll do some
inlays. You can do some inlays.
We'll do some inlays and LED lights.
Yeah.
Clear top.
Custom.
Drink one more monster, Justin.
Just one more monster. That's all you need. That's all you need.
Honestly, I think we could do stabilize because the wood on your sides. I remember it's the dimensions. We could, if we could collab on that, and then we'll do the speakers. If I'll do the speakers, if you do
an inlay.
Or
stabilize.
Why do you play with my emotions? Like I'm all for this.
Well, the thing is, I need to hire one more guy at the machine shop now that we're doing all the stabilization stuff in house. So,
if there's anybody that knows how to do stabilization, hit Zach up.
As a quick aside, just like I never thought I was going to do one-off custom stuff, but I have a customer who has a Red October XL, and I'm sending him a blank chassis because he's got 60 pounds of brass.
Ooh.
And he's gonna machine a Red October, so everything mechanically will fit internally the way he wants.
That's gonna be sexy.
But it's gonna be completely machined brass.
That's wild. That's so nuts. I want to see pictures of this when it comes, man.
How much does the XL weigh?
It's gonna be a heavy thing.
202 pounds. 202 pounds out of its. It weighs 202 pounds.
And what I know the FedEx limit for ground is 150 pounds, right? So do you have to ship it on a pallet?
No. It comes in like a really huge. There's a company called SKB.
Yeah. No, I know it comes in place. But doesn't FedEx only ship ground up to 150 pounds?
Yes, but
how do you ship it?
So no, because with the Pelican case, it comes to like 126, 134. It's just under the limit.
Didn't you just say it was 202 pounds?
No, 102. 102.
Oh, I thought he said it was 202. I was like,
yeah, I did too. My dyslexia kicked in too, and I was like, wow, beast. I mean,
But,
it's
like,
already
Justin,
a
people aren't gonna be able to lift that. 102, I can see someone lifting.
It's
and
still
maybe
so, it's
but
still so
202, I was like, I don't think that's. I was
So-
like, I can't lift 200 pounds.
so
I have
it's
a
still
fun
so
fact for
stupid.
this.
Like 102
Tyler
is
can.
stupid.
Tyler can lift.
Those guns have gotten bigger.
Yeah, I was on a bulk.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to do a cut now, but I was on my last bulk before I get too old to bulk anymore. So
Yeah, when you sell the Nautilus XL, you get Marcello and Tyler to come over, and they'll install it for a fee. A
the
small
men of audiophiles.
Wearing speedos.
I don't think
Yeah.
anybody wants to see that
Oh yeah,
Sasquatch
they'll
coming
bring
out.
a couple of those.
The ZMF
balls.
edition. Yeah.
Marcello, you in, buddy? Deliver these straight to people's homes. Marcello, don't tell Jason, man.
Don't tell
Got you a new
Jason.
gig.
God, Jason. Funny.
Jason will be like, I'll let him do it for 10%.
So let's see here. Fun story. So Justin, I got his corn scalas, and they showed up on pallet, like on these big. His truck showed up, and they palleted them off, the whole thing. And I'm like, oh crap! How am I gonna get these in the house, set up before the wife gets home and notices these things? Because they're huge, they're massive. And so I did it. I hustled. I got the things. I manhandled these two things into the
She still
house.
doesn't know you have them, does she?
Well, no, so I put them in the house. I put them in where they're at now. Actually, they haven't moved since where I put them. And she came home, went upstairs. This was like years back. And she comes back downstairs. She's looking around. And I'm like, oh crap. She's looking around. She's like, what are those? And I was first, I like panic responded, if you can move them, they can go.
You know what's sad is that those are literally the smallest speakers I make now.
She could fit in them. Like
What?
my wife can literally get inside the speakers. If you took the speakers out, she could fit in that box. That fit the
Well,
speaker.
how big are the corn cicalas? And what? How big do you go?
He has some
It's
beefy
called
ones.
there's the 318 speaker system is 218s, and it's the size of a refrigerator.
And what do you ship those?
No. Well, they get shipped. They get crated and then
Crated,
shipped.
yeah.
Damn. 2
Like here.
18s?
So let's see if I
How
can.
big
Ship.
a room do you
Yeah, like,
need
look at
a
these
big room to even like accommodate? Like, would you, if someone was like, I have a 10 by 10 room, you'd be like, don't get those, right?
No,
You'd
get
need,
them
like,
and
a
turn your
No,
whole room
no,
into
no,
a
no, no,
giant
no.
subwoofer.
My music room isn't that big, honestly.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
It's,
So
mean-
I guess that's my question is like, how can you do those work in a modest room?
with enough dampening.
Yeah. Wow.
Everything's possible when you have a desire and a pure heart.
I always love those videos, you know, I mean, a couple of them from Japan I've seen where they're like,
hot stuff
this
too.
guy lives in a 400 square foot apartment.
He's
and
got the
has
wall of
$7
speakers.
million worth. Yeah. That's like, has 40-inch speakers.
All right, I have. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
Well, I was trying to see if I can hold on a second. 2 seconds and I'll get to it. I mean, look, I build speakers that are bigger than they should be. But, you know, if you don't need to have compromises in your life, why compromise?
This guy said new meeting was a wall of sound. Bevan's really into the Dead right now. I saw that picture the other day of them with that.
The big
You know.
speakers.
I talked to a sound engineer about it, and he was like, "That thing actually sounded terrible. The actual Grateful Dead wall of sound." But
It was yeah, that's freaking wild.
I
That'd be
don't know
cool.
why.
That'd be a
Okay.
cool wallpaper.
Wait,
Oh, go here we go. Oh yeah, there you go. Justin, you're 6'2", right?
6'1".
6'1".
so it's like 4.5 feet tall or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's just the right size.
It's just the
perfect size. Yeah, it's not, and it's
perfect.
Like this. Here we go.
You need to do a commercial like the Bentleys, and you knock on it.
I'm wearing the. This is the Ori 3.0. Comes out August 29th. This
That's
is
awesome, man.
The final. This guy just asked this. Yeah, sorry, I'm not just having a schizo attack. Well, listen to me advertise my headphones. This guy, I think this guy.
The
came
joys
into
of
the
live
chat
streaming.
late.
The joys of
I think
live
this guy
streaming.
came into the chat late and didn't hear me talking
Yeah.
about them earlier.
Yeah. So I have a question from Elnric. that he asked earlier he wanted to talk to you. And this kind of ties into the whole discussion we had, and then we'll do questions in the live stream before we call it a night. What do you think?
All right.
Okay,
Cool.
Elnick question. What do you do to not go insane in the audio industry? It's a multi-question thing. From having to deal with brainwashed by snake oil customers being unreasonable to the normal stresses of owning a business like shipping, receiving, build times, getting product out the door, the stresses of just trying to design the stuff. What keeps you sane? Also, any funny horror stories about the industry that you can share? And that was all I've done. I've done my whole thing, and now we can do...
Thank you, Elmrick.
You know who that is, right?
Does his name start with a B? I feel like
wait. Can I to make this analogy work? I have to cuss. Am I allowed to do one time?
Yeah.
You already did cuss.
It's fine. It's a live stream. If we lose,
all
that's
right.
fine.
So here's something I learned about the audio industry that's really important. Everybody says congratulations when you're pregnant. No one ever asks how many times you've been fucked.
That was a very just an answer. I will take it.
But
Does
there's
anyone ever congratulate you for being effed?
depends on how you see it.
Hey,
So-
Dad, I just got effed. Congratulations, son. Me when I was 33. Sorry, I don't. What are we talking about again? Completely.
No, you. So, what do I do to not go crazy with it? Though, two things.
Yeah.
I have a job that is different, and this is what I do to not go crazy in life in general.
So you chose another crazy thing to do.
Yes.
Your job, your real job, is so high stress that you chose another high stress thing to de-stress from the other job.
Wait, who's pregnant again?
Is it mine? Is it your? Oh, I'm confused.
But there's an interesting Southeast Asian phrase. I think it's called vigorosh, which the finance bros of the world, anybody rocking Patagonia might know when you get asked what's the vig, which is to say, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Ah, yeah, that makes sense.
There's very little equipment other than headphones at this point that I own that I didn't build, that I would prefer to use because I actually prefer how it sounds. For that, the juice has been worth the squeeze.
That's fair.
As a lifetime audiophile to have who continues to buy things that I don't need because I want to hear how they sound and hear how they think and all this other stuff, to have systems that are almost always built by me, not because I couldn't afford something different, but because I've chosen
that path.
The juice is worth the squeeze.
You chose this life.
Well, I mean, how long has ZMF been around now? 15 years?
Some formation. I started modding and selling stuff in 2011, so
Right.
technically, I guess 15 years. But
See, I was right. Almost like I knew. That was a lonelier path for Zach way back then, for sure. And to see what's now available and the depth and breadth of products that are still relevant. I'd like to think he shares that same sentiment, that the journey has been the destination has been worth the journey.
Would think. Yeah.
Most days, yeah.
Most days.
Most days, yeah.
there's some zingers that come out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, and I guess that just goes to the whole sanity thing. I mean, it's like, I'm a pretty anxious person, and less anxious now than I was 15 years ago for sure, but I think you're constantly questioning things, and it's kind of what drives you to, at least me, to be able to have choose my own path control my audio stuff. I mean, it's part of a greater ethos of my like psyche of like wanting to have control over things, both for positive and negative ways in other parts of my life. But as far as yeah, that like, and I mean that's kind of what I wanted be able to share with ZMF is, you know, make things for people they wouldn't be able to get elsewhere that are more personal, because not everybody has the time or money or any of that stuff to dedicate their life to certain parts of their hobbies and stuff. And so hopefully, you know, I've been able to help other people get unique audio products that connect with a part of themselves that they couldn't find elsewhere. Kind of how I selfishly made ZMF for myself. Yeah.
Well, and I think, yeah, I definitely dig it. And then to elaborate on that as well, like the whole journey, like the journey made the destination worth it, right? Like that's what you're basically saying, Justin. Like, and so the journey is the biggest thing. Like, and we're still like the way I look at, like the way I interpreted what you just said, both of you guys, is that the journey is the most important part. But every day is your next destination. Like today is the destination, right? You only live in the moment. You only live in the now. So like your destination today was worth it. If you look back at the journey you took, you're like, hey, I'm here because of that journey I took, which is fantastic. Look where we're at. Look what we're doing. Look at this. Look where it took us, right? Like look where.
Well, I'll give you guys an interesting, like, just real example for me. On the other side of this wall, I have the first production Nautilus XL breaking in next to a Mogwai breaking in, headphones listening, you know, breaking in. Totally at high point. The Nautilus being like a high point versus the Mogwai being the production, like normal, accessible production kind of stuff. Really an interesting metaphoric idea. And yet, I swear to mother, I was going to take a goddamn axe to these speakers today because a bolt. I had a blind fastener that slipped. And fixing this fastener that slipped internally, I couldn't do it. I broke out a Sawzall. I broke out a two different kinds of driver. To get this bolt out, I cut the goddamn woofer into 6 different pieces just so I could get access to the bolt, and then took a lock cutter to the bolt to get it out. Right, and so I had to order a new woofer and all this other stuff. You have days that are epically bad.
Yeah.
Horrific. Like, I haven't ever had to cut up a woofer with a Sawzall to get it out. This was a bad day.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, like less than 10 feet away, is like the next peak.
Yeah, and that's that journey piece, right? The next destination, the journey continues to the next destination, and it's a constant leapfrog, right?
I mean, I'd like to stay on peaks. They're totally fun. I would love more peaks in my life.
Realistically.
For not the valleys, the peaks would not be meaningful.
Yeah, there we go. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
weird questions happening.
I saw the Tarot Destroyer one came in hot.
Probably should have ignored that one, but I couldn't help myself.
Let's see. Crypto. The atrium close is fantastic with gaming. I also like the Bocas as well for gaming. Surprisingly, the Tour Classics were also fantastic gaming headphones. Yeah. Sorry, that was one of the questions from earlier. So with that, let these guys ask questions. But any questions you guys have? Justin, Zach, anything you want to? Any quick topics you want to touch on? Horror stories.
Yeah. What was the last one? Was like
snake oil and horror stories.
How do you stay sane and horror stories? Back to Brent's question. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think this is long ago enough now, and I feel like this kind of thing has happened over and over. Way back in the day when I was modding T50 headphones, I don't know, 2013, 14, something like that. I sent Headphonia back when, I think Mike Ting was his name. So back when I don't even think he's at Headphonia anymore, but I sent headphones to him, and I remember I was still teaching at Columbia College, and he posted the review of these T50 mods. And it was I think the review's still up somewhere, but it was a pretty like negative review. and just like Justin was saying, like the peaks and the valleys, you know. And I was like, oh no, like I was like, making headphones is over for me. This is the end, you know. This is, I got on this review site I've always wanted to be on Headphonia, and then the review's not quite what I want it to be. I'm never going to be able to sell a headphone again, and obviously that wasn't the case. And I think, you know, just the emotional roller coaster of like sharing this thing you spend all your time on, and then opening yourself up to judgment of others is tough. But I just think I've gotten a lot more comfortable with it, and I realize that like everything I do isn't for everyone. Just like everyone's not going to like my sense of humor, everyone's not gonna gel with me as a person, you know, for, you know, better or worse, no, you know, fault of my own or anyone else's.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that, you know, we all like what we like, and, you know, don't ever let anyone like question that. Stick to the things you like. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't really have any like
Proper horror story. Kind of
proper horror stories, but that was a moment, I think a turning point, a learning thing for me, at least as part of the headphone thing, is concerned. I mean, you know, the pandemic and
Oh, that threw a whole wrench.
building headphones in my basement by myself. I mean, that was, to be honest, that was like, I was like, I'm fine with this. Like, this is cool. I like that. But yeah, I mean, there's things like that kind of test certain parts of things. Was the pandemic right at the beginning for you, Justin? Was that like a test for you, or?
I think that the pandemic, I have a different one, but like the pandemic and our current economic pivot points. So like the pandemic, everything, the world froze and stopped economically for a period of time, and then it went
like
200% higher than we had ever done. And the pandemic killed some companies, truth be told. And like the current economic situation that we're in, I mean, I'll be honest, like things are slow for me, but I know that they're slow for almost everybody. And I've made decisions not to grow the company. You know, I've made decisions to stay basically the same size company as I've always been, so that we can weather these kinds of storms. And yeah, the pandemic was a lonely, scary time, where then we learned about how to create community online further. You know, like discords and things like that came about, and everybody was more active on the forums and stuff like that, and there was different community. But I think that like there are significant scary moments or challenges to a company, I should say, and the pandemic was a scary, hard to navigate challenge. Just like I think that we're in a scary, hard to navigate time now, like with tariffs being what they are and the economy being what it is, that, you know, the economy has put most consumers into a fear state spending wise, and the decisions you made 2 years ago dictate whether you're going to survive today. I mean, if we're talking about odd states of time or things to be low points, I'm not in a low point because I stayed small enough to be okay, but it's a scary time
for sure.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Zach, from your vantage point? Or
yeah, I mean, you know, that's one thing I'm grappling with lately is, you know, we're about to make this announcement on July 11th coming up that stock headphones will ship within 2 weeks, basically, or, you know, much faster than limited editions. And up until now, we've always shipped headphones 6 to 12 weeks blanket, no matter what it was. And it's just one of those things where, like, yeah, you have to make these calculated choices around like what's going to allow you to keep making your product as far as business decisions and stuff like that. And, you know, I've you know, constantly said to people that I don't want to keep the monthly overhead that high because it brings a higher level of responsibility, and, you know, you have to pay your staff, you know, wages that want to keep them around and support their families and all that stuff. And I just think there's, I've seen, and I know people like this too in my personal life, especially as someone like me who went to art school, where they're like very anti-consumerism, and then someone like me goes from art school to running a business where I, had the same journey of being anti-consumerism to now running a business. You get a kind of a peek at like, hey, what do you need to do to run something that's honest and helps the people that you work with and allows you to make the headphone. It's a really tough equation, and for small businesses it's even harder, and these things like tariffs and stuff may seem small, but like, for example, you cannot. I tried to make ear pads in Illinois and in the US and talked to tons of different leather places, and the products I got were just, for lack of a better term, complete garbage. Like, could not measure two pads by themselves the same and stuff like that, because these were people who used to making couches and
Yeah.
leather jackets and stuff like that. You can only get good ear pads overseas. And fortunately, like, you probably know a lot of the different suppliers of ear pads at this point, and exactly the formula that we need and stuff like that. But there's every business I've talked to in our niche hobby has some part that you just, because it's headphones, you cannot get from certain places outside of Asia. And it's very fragile. It's a very fragile place, and we're very lucky that a lot of our parts we're able to make in the USA and stuff like that. But other companies I know, just like,
Or the reciprocal tariffs for like 50% tariff to sell something to one of these countries that has a terrible tariff issue with the United States, the amount that they pay to import your product.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so, like, anyway, that was, I don't mean to sound like the downtimes are in the present, but there are real challenges now that are like they're a different crisis. For me, like, I have time off. In theory, I have to figure out how to use it constructively, but I need to communicate with my customer. My people discover me via videos, and I need to create more videos, and I haven't been doing that for 6 months because I've had my head up my butt.
but
Whose butt for you?
But I mean,
I just find any butt. Put my head right on.
As I was saying, like, the politics of the moment have made it so that, like, I need to refocus on my own communication. I don't have to refocus necessarily on my production. I have to refocus on my communication, and that's where I'm vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, you make your triangle of priorities, and it's really hard to finalize those decisions on like where you're going to spend your time. But I think the communicating and then helps you find out what what you like and how you can pass that on to the people you're interacting with. Yeah.
As a funny aside, though, I will tell you one, like, sort of funny story. So Dallas, there was Can Jam Dallas last year, and I was trying to show I think like a Red October XL, and they wouldn't let it on the plane. It was too heavy to get on the plane. It was supposed to go. It was supposed to go like air freight instead, and I was like, I can't. So I ended up going to Can Jam Dallas, and hanging out with Andy Regan and just being supportive and like be part of the community. And I had zero product with me, zero ability to show anything because my amps were too heavy to get on the airplane.
That's hilarious.
Damn.
I mean, like, it was
different. It gave you a different perspective, right?
You can ask Zach, like, to show up at a Can Jam and have nothing to show is an enormously painful idea, like brutally painful idea.
Okay,
I've had nightmares like that. Yeah.
What'd you say, Zach?
Nightmares.
I've had nightmares like that. Yeah. Nothing came.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Sounds
right.
very stressful.
Let's see.
It was.
I probably got 10 minutes left
Yeah,
because I told myself I was going to leave the shop. I have these suede Odyssey pads I have to measure
Yeah.
and approve for our manufacturer to make sure they're up to spec. Actually, before I told them I'd do it today. It's 10:15 here.
Oh geez,
So.
yeah, super high five talk. Yeah, I hear my daughter run around, so I also have very limited time. I'm gonna speed run some of these last few questions. Feel free to answer this, but can we get this is from Morning Sun? Get an ampsandsound Jinx review. I think those didn't we have some of those come around? And then Sheldon asked,
it's the unsung hero, and I need to find a reviewer that wants to review it more. The Jinx is it's like a pendant in many ways, and it should be more popular than it is because I have not done enough publicity in getting it reviewed. Find me a reviewer who wants to review it.
Roger, Roger. And then Sheldon asked, "Would you ever do a collab product?" That's to me. I mean, that's a weird one. I don't know. If if it made sense, I maybe, but I can't imagine. Maybe it'd be cool to do like a collab and like donate any kind of thing to like some kind of cool charity or something. That might be a cool way to do a collab. But let's see. ZMF headphone gaming. Which one is your favorite? For me, they all actually are pretty great, but probably the Atriums and the Bocas are my top two for gaming. Morning Sun speaking reviews of products in the audio world. And guys currently feel about review. We talked about this earlier. The Morning Sun. How do we feel? How do you guys feel about reviewers doing reviews currently in the space? I feel like we kind of discussed that already. But I mean, it's a necessary evil, I think, to some level, right? Not that it's evil.
I mean, I love reviewers. I mean, like as I said, even like the sites that do weird stuff like we were talking about earlier. You have to have a gamut of all that stuff and content and feedback, and it's not about everyone agreeing with you. It's about transparency and transparency, letting the audience know where you're coming from. That's my thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can rewind the tape and watch that section. Whoever asked that question, I think there's some good stuff back there.
I think, and then final question will be: Marcello asked, "Do you think many audiophiles or audio enthusiasts care more about the gear than they do the actual music? How have you seen that present itself in your interactions?" I'll real quick, Marcello. From my perspective, I think that becomes problematic, especially as someone that's getting gear sent to me. That frustrates me because I personally want to listen to music. Like, it's more about the music for me than it is the product. But I do feel like a lot of times you're just churning and burning. But you guys, what are your guys' thoughts? Then last question: do you think people care more about the gear than the actual what it's doing to present? Like, to me, I love the gear for how it presents music, not necessarily because I like gear. Does that make sense? That's why I like you guys with the ZMF and the amps and sound. Like, to me, it speaks to me. It makes my music sound the way I would think it should sound. That's why I like it. But I know there's people that just like gear for gear's sake. So
I think that having gear gives people something that they can have ownership of, both psychic, like physical possession ownership and mental ownership of. And there's a lot of comfort in possessing things. And those possessions, and I'm as guilty as anybody else, become a demonstration of our values and our interests. I think that people who buy with a with high frequency tend to be more interested in gear. I think that most people are just looking for happy and aren't always sure how to get there and don't know can't. I mean, I've discovered it with buying camera lenses. Like, you don't know what you don't like until you have it in front of you and you've tried it and you don't like it and you need to move on. And so I have an empathy for that, for audiophiles, that they want to try things to find happy.
That's true.
And they don't find it. They find, like, to be satisfied, but not like total contentment, perhaps, like because they haven't found the missing link, or they haven't grown in their own listening or whatever, and so they are shuffling through gear to find that missing link.
That aha.
Combined with, it's fun to possess things from a psychological standpoint, to know something and to have pride in it, and all of these things.
Oh yeah, I definitely found that.
I wish more people found a sound that made them happy and content, and so that they could find more music that they enjoyed listening to.
Yeah. Zach's hot take, and then we'll call it a night.
Yeah, no, I feel similarly. Yeah, I have a guitar collection. I'm a very mediocre acoustic guitar player and love trying out different guitars and stuff. And it's kind of that thing where the one that gels with you. Sometimes you don't know it until you've ignored it for a little bit. And yeah, I feel the same way with audio gear. It's nice to have options around, but by no means is it necessary to have all that gear around until, if you're not finding those moments where lets you experience music or whatever you want to experience in a certain way. And, we've got customers who want the stock model and could care less about how our headphones look. And we've got customers who are all about the aesthetics and everywhere in between. And, I think all of us have those different parts of ourselves where there's moments where we go more into one camp or the other. And I think that's a great thing to explore those different sides of yourself. And us as humans, we're always malleable, and you shouldn't define yourself as one certain way of being a gearhead or a music head. You should see where you're at the moment and embrace it.
I just to end it on that, I wanted to touch, because you guys kind of embody this too, is craftsmanship. Like, right? Like that will get me. Like how, Justin, you make your amps, Zach, how you make your headphones, or like these artists that make these cool cups, or that make cool. I have a buddy that hand paints. He prints and hand paints like these kind of like statue things. Like, I mean, this is fantastic. Like, this looks professional. Like, it's crazy. Like, so, like, people that are passionate about things, that will get me excited to get that gear more than if it's like, you know what I mean? Like that. And then I'll get excited. Like, so Zach, Justin, you guys getting excited about your gear, because you can see it when you guys have, like, you have the Ori 3s right there, like you get excited about it, and I'll see your excitement about the thing you're passionate about making, and it will get me excited to experience what those will sound like with my music. Does that make sense? Like that, it excites me to try it with my music and how I want to hear what that will sound like. I'm excited to hear what it sounds like with the music I like to listen to. Like that gets my juices going too as well. So anyways, I think like the artisanal passionate factor kicks in a lot. So,
well, and this is I think that the empiricists of the world find that their answers are derived by empirical, measured, observed experiences, and that guides their decision making. Where, like, I think as we speak, we're saying that the experience and the values that are implicit to the experience, regardless of its performance, has import to us.
Yes,
and it's just a different lens to the experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's actual well said. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, nice. Thank you, gentlemen, and
thank you. Yeah, this was fun. Great. I gotta go measure some Odyssey suede pads. That should be.
Speaking of empirical,
in a couple months. Yeah.
No, I'm joking, but no, like this is fantastic, and we'll have to kind of. I need to keep you guys jumping back into this.
Oh, Biss Headphones is here. It speaks up right at the end. Okay, I see how it is.
Actually, I still need to hear some of that new. I need to talk to Josh about getting the Joel from him. He said he's going to send it to me to try.
The Joel, wait, can we just one last thing? A product that you're excited by that's not yours. The Joel, fine. The Joel is amazing and awesome because it's the most usable.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've been trying to trade the Abyss guys for like every show, and then what's Daddy Abyss? What's his name?
Joe.
Daddy Abyss.
Joe.
No,
Daddy
it's
Abyss.
Daddy Abyss.
Daddy Abyss.
Daddy Abyss from now on. Joe Daddy Abyss. Got it.
Joe, yeah, I tried to Joe Skubinski. I'm like, Joe, let's check, and then I was like, I'll ask your son. I just trying to make it a fun trade. You
Yeah.
know, so,
I'm all about that too. Like I love doing
Oh,
the
so it's like a fun
the
trade.
barter system. Like I'll do my photography for gear. You guys need photos? Let me know. I'll trade you photos for gear.
Yes, to Zach, no. I can't say I didn't try.
Son of a. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully we had a good time and some education and learned a little bit more about Justin and Zach and Amps and Sound and ZMF.